Hello, I'm back again with BLU review. Have some crazy lighting going on here. I kind of like it though. Um, Meet my cat Kal-El. He's a good little guy. He's making his official debut. He made a cameo the other night. We also call him Buddy. Sometimes Little Henry. So he's a lot like his daddy. So anyway, we're gonna chill out and talk to you about some more movies for Halloween. How about that? Days. 13 days of Halloween. That's it. Okay, so we're on the 28th and of October, and today we're just gonna do two. Oh, there he goes. He's shy. I just call this one romance as the theme, and basically we have two romantic films, but they're not your conventional romance, and they're kind of dark and stylized. So okay, first one is Candyman from 1992, directed by Bernard Rose, starring Tony Todd and the lovely Regina Madsen, plus Xander Berkeley and Casey Lemons. And I have to say, I might have to turn the movie down that I'm watching now because it's the second one I'm going to be discussing, about halfway through it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue here. Candyman is one of my favorite films. I first saw it on videotape in 1993. And to be honest, I didn't really like it. I thought it was kind of a slasher, kind of generic, not generic, but just just another slasher movie. Except it did have an African American lead as the villain. I also didn't like the fact there's like the big plot with the frame up of the heroine and how frustrating that is. Like you're kind of going, come on. Anyway, I stepped away from it for several years. A former good friend of mine convinced me I should continue. I should give it another chance, and so I did. Around 1998, I believe I rented it, and wow, I liked it way more. Especially what hit me was the amazing soundtrack by Philip Glass. Probably a lot of people know him by his minimalist compositions. Candyman is my favorite thing he's done. That the whole album of material, those themes are just beautiful. Truly gothic, romantic music, and he uses mostly piano, which I believe he plays himself, and some strings and synthesizers, and it's just an amazing score. It's beautiful, really beautiful. One of my favorite movie soundtracks ever. So what's Candyman about? Well, you may know that it comes from a Clive Barker story called The Forbidden, which I have read once a while back. And, basically the deal with The Forbidden is that it's about urban legends. So Helen, our heroine, is refusing to believe in the existence of this urban legend, the Candyman. And so he comes to visit her, and he's fixated upon her. So the movie takes this as a springboard to get into a whole bunch of different themes. First of all, in the book, he's described kind of as, having jaundiced or waxen kind of skin and jewel-like eyes, but there's no specificity as far as his race, his ethnicity, his exact appearance of age, or anything like that. So they went ahead, and when they made the film, Bill Condon and Bernard Rose and Barker, to a lesser extent, consulting as the executive producer and creator of The Forbidden, they came up with this kind of they moved the action to America, and so specifically to Chicago, to Cabrini Green, and to the projects, where Candyman is kind of this whispered urban legend and this kind of fear-inducing bogeyman for the community. And Helen is in this film as well, played by Virginia Madsen, and her best friend Bernadette is played by Casey Lemons, who's also a extremely talented director. She did 2 amazing films with Samuel L. Jackson later called Eve's Bayou and The Caveman's Valentine. I highly recommend you watch those as soon as you possibly can. So Helen and Bernadette are working on their thesis, and they're hoping to top Helen's obnoxious professor husband, who has decided to jump the gun and make his class about urban legends, even though he knows his wife is trying to finish this thesis. He's kind of a bastard. Let's just be frank about it. Played by Xander Berkeley, who's extremely good at playing the kind of bastard other guy, kind of like in Heat, and even when he played Rocket's Red Glare, the drug dealer in Sid and Nancy, he's kind of radiates sleaze. Not that he's only played sleazy characters, and he's a talented guy, but he seems to just have that I don't know, something about him. He projects that kind of face you want to just kind of smash. So anyway, he's definitely in that league in this film as Trevor, the husband. And Trevor Lyle, he's just not a cool dude, and he's cheating on his wife. I mean, this was Virginia Madsen at her peak, where she was kind of like being groomed to be the next Sharon Stone, though, in my opinion, far more attractive than Sharon Stone. But that kind of glamour from the early 90s with the short blonde hair and that kind of persona. So, excuse me. I don't know why he would cheat on her, but he's going for some young kid in his class. I don't know, she's 18, 19, I don't know. I guess she's a college student. But she's, a child, really, compared to him. But, that would be one thing, but he's married to Virginia Madsen. So, yeah, and so they try to unearth the story of Candyman. It turns out to be kind of a hoax and not a real supernatural incident or being, or does it? So Helen doubts his existence, and also for the hell of it, says his name 5 times in a mirror, the way you're supposed to allegedly summon him. And he actually comes, and he recites to her all the things he says to her in the story, the forbidden, almost verbatim, and it's just chilling in Tony Todd's voice. It's really some amazing writing on Barker's part, and the direction of this is incredible, because the thing is, there's this whole thing like, Candyman is coming to Helen and he's like, you doubted my existence, you called for me, here I am. But he says things like, it was always you, Helen. It was always you. And the most beautiful piano piece on the soundtrack is called It Was Always You, Helen. And I guess it was always Helen. And the thing about it is, how to put this? Bernard Rose hypnotized Virginia Madsen during some of the scenes, a la Herzog doing Heart of Glass, where he hypnotized the whole cast except the main character. But he hypnotized her during certain sequences. And there's a sequences where she actually falls under Candyman's spell, and this kind of light goes across her eyes, and she's kind of like this, and she's kind of just speaking the lines kind of robotically, and it's an amazing effect. The lighting around her is incredible. There's one scene where she's going in an automobile, an ambulance, going through a tunnel, and the lights of the tunnel are flashing back and forth on her face, and they've got the thing around across her eyes, the light, and you're seeing her, and she was really hypnotized when they were shooting this, and they keep intercutting it with the scenes of murals of Candyman that she found in Cabrini Green. It's just that with the music, it's a totally, it literally is a hypnotic experience. And I always thought that, and I didn't know though that it involved a real hypnosis until I got the Scream Factory Blu-ray and delved into all the bonus features. And I have to say, it was just it was interesting to find that out. So I did make an error here on my video, like I did last time. I didn't have my props right at hand, so I'm going to once again attempt to obtain them and return very quickly. I'm not sure how quickly I returned, but I did return. So in any case, I hope you guys are still paying attention. So this is the Candyman Shout Factory / Scream Factory Blu-ray that I received. I purchased it. It was on sale through the distributor, no, through Shout Factory. They had like a half off sale early this year, so I went ahead and picked it up. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be getting it for quite a long time. And it has just a plethora of extras, and it has the theatrical cut and the director's cut, and there's really almost imperceptible difference. I mean, the runtime is within the same minute, 99 minutes of both of them. I'm not sure how many seconds off they are from each other. Can someone call Tim Lucas, because he would know. This was definitely up his, and he was his wheelhouse, as they say. So anyway, this movie to me is a perfect urban gothic romance horror. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's just a modern gothic horror, an American gothic horror, an urban gothic, gothic romance. It's all of it. And I didn't see it that way the first time I saw it. And it even took me a few times to really appreciate it. And now I watch it every Halloween. It's a tradition. It's one of the ones I have to watch every year. But I often watch it at least one other time during the year as well. It's really become a go-to movie for me. It's in my top, I'd say 35 or 40 films of all time, and it has a very special place there. It went on to spawn 2 sequels, Farewell to the Flesh and Day of the Dead, not related to Romero's Day of the Dead. And Tony Todd reprised his role, and you get more into Daniel Robitaille. They reveal his real name, and they already had told his origin in the first film, so now they kind of get into some flashbacks and him and his true love from the 19th century. He was a son of a slave who became wealthy and was an artist and painted a kind of a plantation owner's daughter, and of course she was white, and they fell in love, and they fucked up Daniel Robitaille royally over this transgression against their, genteel Southern society. So that's how Candyman came to be. So he is like an undead creature, a revenant, a ghost, a spectral being, though he is semi-solid. So he is kind of like The Walking Dead, not the show The Walking Dead. But anyway, but what I had often wondered, because of the fact it did remind me of this kind of gothic horror romance, the doomed, reincarnation kind of deal, like with The Mummy, which I reviewed a few episodes back with Boris Karloff, and also a couple of iterations of Dracula. For instance, Dan Curtis's with Jack Palance, written by Richard Matheson, and then later the Bram Stoker's Dracula film by Coppola. Both of them deal with the idea that Vlad had a great love from the past, and she died and was reincarnated. And other stories have used this motif over the years, that the two lovers are dead, separated, or reincarnated, or one of them is. Blackula is another horror film that uses that exact device. Prince Mamavaldi is vampirized by Dracula, and then since he sleeps for like 400 years, and then when he awakens, he meets a woman who's like the dead ringer of Luva, his princess, and the implication is that she's the reincarnate. Well, it's definitely he believes that she's the reincarnation. She never really becomes aware as Luva per se, Tina, the character, but she could also be their descendant and look like her ancestress, Luva. But in any case, he's in love with her because of that. He believes his Luva has been brought back to him. So same idea with the mummy, with Imhotep and his lover, and same idea with this, but this is not overtly said in the first Candyman movie. And that's what I find interesting, though, is that watching the extras on this Blu-ray is that the idea was there, and it's truly implicit. I mean, there's no time where I feel like Helen Lyle, the character played by Virginia, uh, loves Candyman or is yearning for Candyman or is like seriously attracted to Candyman or much less remembers any past life like Candyman. Um, I don't see any of that, but um, however, it is there. I'm sorry, on notifications. It is implicit, uh, according to the director and to Tony Todd, and to an extent by Virginia Madsen, confirmed. The sequences where she kind of spaces out and is hypnotized, she is kind of reliving that other life, like her karmic destiny. Because the first time she zones out, you hear the screams of Daniel Robitaille being smeared with the honey and the bees, and his hand being hacked off and replaced by the hook. And you hear the suffering, and you see these quick flashes of like the paintings and things, and she's just kind of like this, while she's being told this story by this character who I believe was played by Bernard Rose, the director. He's a friend of her lovely husband Trevor, and she's in those sequences. Apparently, yes, she is reliving her racial memory, her subconscious or collective unconscious memory of this time. Yes, I guess her past self witnessed this destruction of her lover. Um, with that in mind, you go back and you watch the film, and each time she spaces out like this and is hypnotized, then there is truly a resonance there. And so, even though on a conscious level, Helen rejects Candyman and wants nothing to do with him and is pissed off that he's framing her for these murders so that he can like remove her from everyone around her and they'll abandon her and only he'll be there for her. The more and more the movie goes on, the more it does seem to point towards there's a love motivation here on his part, and that he knows it's her destiny. He believes it's their destiny, but she's going to keep fighting him all the way to the end. And she does. She never accepts him as her lover or partner, but she does seemingly destroy him and replace him as the urban legend with the killer hook. Um, the sequels did not return Virginia Madsen or Helen, though they did feature the character Helen's a reincarnation of. But so it didn't go into how far Helen goes as far as her being the legend. But I don't know if it was intended like that, like it was supposed to be a series with her and all. And obviously, Tony Todd was the popular character, the popular villain. I mean, he was, Candyman was it. So he got the extra movies. And then there were rumors recently there was going to be a remake, and it turned out to actually be a direct sequel. You see, in Candyman, there's a woman who helps Helen and Bernadette with their information about the projects. And this young woman, when Helen is framed for killing her dog and kidnapping her baby Anthony. And, Helen risks her own life at the end to save the baby and hopefully also, I mean, I don't think this is forefront of her mind, but she's trying to prove she's innocent, but she wants to save the baby. That's important to her for obvious reasons. And she does. Well, this direct sequel, the baby Anthony is an adult, played by this incredible up and coming actor. I don't know if I'm going to say his name correctly, but I'm just going to say it the way it looks. Yaya. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who was absolutely incredible in Watchmen and won an Emmy for his work in Watchmen, playing two characters, one of whom is very familiar to fans of the Watchmen comic book and mythos. I wasn't going to give it away though, and another character as well. Or is it another character? He was the best thing by far to me about Aquaman playing Black Manta, and he was fantastic in Striking Vipers, this really touching episode of Black Mirror, one of the last ones that was broadcast, where it kind of explores this kind of simmering homoerotic attraction between these two longtime friends, these two kind of, seemingly very masculine black men played by him and ironically another superhero movie alumnus, the great Anthony Mackie, who's known for the Falcon in the Marvel movies. Um, and they're playing, these video games together, and their characters are lovers. Like one of them's like a martial arts dude, and then one's like a female martial artist, and they have these passionate liaisons, and then you start to think, well, do these two guys really, or there's really something between them beyond friendship? And Yaya's character seems to think, yeah, there is something here. We need to explore this, even though Anthony Mackie's character is married. Finally, he convinces him to at least give it a shot, and it ended on kind of a little sad for me. I was expecting, or not expecting, but I was hoping it to turn out a little bit different than it did. But powerfully wrought episode, brilliant, great commentary on, the whole, black man masculinity, how it's seen in our culture, I mean, our society and black culture, and of course, homophobia and that kind of thing, and the whole dilemma of being in the closet, um, and denying, what your true desires are. And I've got to say, I mean, that episode just blew me away, and I was like, yeah, forever. And then Watchmen came along, and then I was like, man. So anyway, Yaya is playing the adult Anthony McCoy, who's the baby in Candyman. And it seems from the trailers that perhaps he's also going to become a successor to Candyman in some way. Tony Todd, though, is going to play the Candyman, Daniel Robitaille. But yeah, and Anthony and his mother are the returning characters. I don't know if any other characters are returning. I mean, Helen's dead, but I have heard Virginia Madsen makes a cameo as a different character. Um, Most of the other characters in the first movie are dead. There is this kid who was in the projects who was a little bit older than Anthony. I'm not sure if he appears in the new film or not. It'd be cool if they continued his story. I can't remember his character's story, but he was the one who really vehemently believed Candyman was real and was telling Helen, hey, he's going to get you. So, Candyman, highly recommend it. What's the second romantic film we're going to talk about before I wrap up? It's going to be called Mandy. And I reviewed it the other day in a previous installment, so I'm not going to linger on it. It's playing right now, even as I speak. That's what's kind of distracting my, peripheral vision here from time to time. But visually stunning film, a tragedy, a love story that turns into horrible tragedy, um, a lot of dark horror and borderline science fiction kind of tropes, a lot of visual follow up to the director Panos Cosmatos' previous film, Beyond the Black Rainbow. Just an amazing experience, immersive colors, the photography, the music, just the whole sound design. Nicolas Cage's completely committed performance, and some people would say, well, maybe he should be committed. Some people think, well, yeah, he's just doing the Cage rage cliche. Can you hear him? And maybe there's truth to all of that, but to me, it transcends it. To me, the story and the direction and his chemistry with Andrea Riseborough, who plays the titular character Mandy, is so intense and so powerful and so realized so well cinematically that to me it transcends just a cliche Nicolas Cage phoning it in, acting crazy, ha ha performance. I love this movie, and experiencing it again, it's unique. It's really visually fascinating and sonically fascinating, and it has a story to it, beyond just the story of lost love and revenge. Um, the cult that kind of decides to abscond with Mandy, um, they employ these strange motorcycle riders called the Black Skulls, and they're kind of these mutated beings that kind of resemble Cenobites from Clive Barker, but aren't. I mean, they're mutated because they were part of some kind of government experimentation, some kind of MK Ultra like thing or whatever. And there was a guy called the Chemist, who's played by Richard Brake, and he's looking as gaunt as ever and very good in this part, very small part. And the stuff that he manufactures was part of this government experiment, and it kind of mutated them, and they started hungering for it. This substance, kind of black tar like psychedelic, mind altering, mutagenic substance. And one thing that people forget about, that I've talked to, I've noticed who forget about, and I forgot this myself, about the movie is that, Cage's character Red takes a lot of abuse as the movie goes on, and he continues to fight and fight and fight. But it's not all his desire for revenge or just his drive. It's that, spoiler, 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 he ingested some of this mutagenic fluid himself. And I think it drove him, he was already losing his mind over what happened to Mandy. But I think it drove him all the way mad, but it also enabled him to, like the bikers, take a lot of fucking punishment physically. And just his madness and his lust for vengeance just drive him on. He forges a giant metal axe that he calls the Beast. It's just some amazing stuff in this movie. The guy who imparts the exposition to Red and to us about the Black Skulls and the fluid and the government and all this stuff is a character called Carruthers, who's only in one scene, played by Bill Duke, and he's incredibly effective. Just an amazing performance. That guy's got this incredible voice, and the older he gets, the more ominous he is sounding. And he followed this up or around the same time with a couple of seasons in Black Lightning, playing the main villain Odell. And again, he's got that incredible. In that one, he's a villain, but he has that menacing quality. In this one, he's not the villain; he's an ally, but he's still just he's intoning this stuff so solemnly and so convincingly. Um, it's amazing. He's an incredible actor. So yeah, Bill Duke, Richard Brake, Linus Loach plays the head of the cult, and he's a total lunatic, completely over the top, much more over the top performance than Cage's. And actually, Cage was originally cast by Cosmatos as Jeremiah Sands, the cult leader, and you'd think that would be it, but that's typecasting. And Cage said, "I'll do this movie if I can play Red." And Red, he's playing a character who's a bit younger than he really is, and a bit more, at least in the beginning, sedate than he often plays. But by the end, he's gone through a journey, man. That guy's suffered through fucking hell. He's seen some stuff, and he's done some things, and it's just an amazing journey. There's symbols all through this movie. There's all kinds of strange synchronicities and occult symbols here and there, and visual parallels and kind of thing you saw in Beyond the Black Rainbow. If you saw that, that was his science fiction movie. That was kind of his homage to 70s science fiction and more cerebral science fiction films of that period, and it especially reminded me of David Cronenberg's early film Stereo and Crimes of the Future. It was set in the early 1980s. This one also is set, I think, in 1983, I believe. And the TV show Stranger Things owes more than a little to Beyond the Black Rainbow. I don't know if they're ever going to acknowledge that, but it is true. It really does. So Mandy is like taking this universe, this visual, sonic, kind of hermetic, weird, retro universe that Cosmatos has devised for Black Rainbow, and kind of taking it to the next level into a horror territory, horror and revenge. And man, that's next level stuff, man. It was my favorite film of 2018, and yeah, man, Cage rocks in this, and Andrea Riseborough as his muse Mandy is an indelible character. Just she's a chameleon. She was in an episode of Black Mirror, and I didn't even realize it was her until the episode was ending, and I saw the credits. But I understand she's like that in all parts, all of her parts. She's almost unrecognizable in this one. She has very, very long, straight, part in the middle, hippie-like hair. Wears all these metalhead gear, like beat up black jeans and black band shirts, especially the Black Sabbath Never Say Die shirt. And she has a scar. The character has a scar across her face, a side of her face, and this makes her very distinctive. She doesn't have much makeup on. She's just kind of a natural beauty, and her character is like an artist, a fantasy artist who reads fantasy novels and sells. It looks to be like herbal and crystals and new age kind of things in a little shop. And they live near a lake, and he's a logger, and oh, it's so incredible. And his theme song at the beginning is King Crimson's "Starless" from the album Red, and red is kind of the prominent theme and color throughout this movie. Wow, I could go on, and I'm sure I've pretty much probably repeated everything I said the other day about it. So I apologize for being redundant. I'm going to wrap this up. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about part two of the classics. I think part one I discussed Kill Baby Kill and another that I deemed a classic, and I don't remember what it was now. But anyway, tomorrow we'll be dealing with some classics. I'm going to deal with at least two for the day, the 29th. I might do three because there's another one I've been wanting to watch again and maybe insert in there. So tomorrow will be another probably 1 day chapter. Then 30th, I'm going to do the whole show for the 30th and 31st. I'm going to cover Halloween parties, and I'm going to cover the dead. And that one will probably be like an hour long installment. I'm going to cover 4 to 5 films, and I'll probably dress up somewhat for Halloween for that occasion. And then, of course, later I'm going to wrap up on the November 1st, 2nd with some Day of the Dead offerings. So thanks a lot for watching, and I really appreciate everybody who's commented, liked, thumbs up, giving me feedback, or just generally commits to this new project and endeavor of mine. I'm going to get back to the Flickr Street stuff soon. I shot an episode and I wasn't really happy with it, so I'm going to try to reshoot episode 8 here, in the next several days. But I want to get through the Halloween stuff here, and before all these notifications, drive you and me mad, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Love you guys. Thank you. Happy Halloween.